Picking between AMD and Intel is one of the main considerations whenever you build a new PC. Like Mac OS versus Windows, the AMD versus Intel is one of the greatest debates for PC enthusiasts. So in this video, we will do a comparison of Intel versus AMD processors and see which is best for you. Performance. When it comes to performance, both Intel and AMD have been known for their strengths and weaknesses. Intel has been the traditional leader in single-threaded performance, which is important for tasks such as gaming, while AMD has been known for its strong multi-threaded performance, which is essential for tasks such as video editing. Single-threaded performance. One of the key performance metrics for processors is single-threaded performance. This refers to the ability of a processor to execute a single thread of instructions at a high rate of speed. This is important for many applications, including gaming, which often rely on a single core or thread for performance. Historically, Intel processors have been known for their strong single-threaded performance. This is because Intel processors have typically had higher clock speeds and better instruction per clock performance than AMD processors. However, recent generations of AMD processors have closed this gap significantly, with AMD's Ryzen processors offering strong single-threaded performance. Multi-threaded performance. Multi-threaded performance refers to a processor's ability to execute multiple threads or tasks simultaneously. This is important for applications that can take advantage of multiple cores or threads, including video editing, 3D rendering, and gaming. AMD processors have traditionally been known for their strong multi-threaded performance, thanks to their use of more cores and threads than Intel processors. This can result in significantly faster performance in multi-threaded applications. However, recent generations of Intel processors have made significant progress in multi-threaded performance, narrowing the gap between the two brands. Pricing. It is a major factor when it comes to choosing a processor, and it is essential to ensure that you are getting the best value for your money. Intel processors are generally more expensive than AMD processors, but this is not always the case. When it comes to pricing, AMD generally offers better value for money than Intel. In the entry-level processor market, AMD's Ryzen 3 and Athlon processors are priced lower than comparable Intel processors, making them a popular choice for budget builds. In the mid-range processor market, Intel's Core i5 and i7 processors are priced similarly to AMD's Ryzen 5 and Ryzen 7 processors, but AMD has gained an advantage with their processors offering more cores and threads. In the high-end processor market, both Intel's Core i9 processors and AMD's Ryzen 9 processors are similarly priced, but Intel processors often require more expensive motherboards and cooling systems. AMD's processors offer more cores and threads than Intel processors at the same price point, resulting in significantly better performance in multi-threaded applications and making AMD a popular choice for content creators and professionals. However, Intel may be a better choice if you need strong single-threaded performance or better integrated graphics performance. Features. Intel and AMD processors have different features that set them apart from each other. Cores and threads. One of the most significant differences between Intel and AMD processors is the number of cores and threads they offer. Clock speed. Another difference between Intel and AMD processors is their clock speed. Intel processors generally have higher clock speeds than comparable AMD processors. However, AMD processors can make up for this difference with more cores and threads, which can result in better overall performance. Integrated graphics. Integrated graphics is another feature that sets Intel and AMD processors apart from each other. Intel's processors generally offer better integrated graphics performance than AMD's processors, making them a popular choice for users who don't need a separate graphics card. However, this difference is less significant for users who plan to use a dedicated graphics card. Compatibility. Intel and AMD processors require different motherboards, and it is important to ensure that the motherboard you choose is compatible with the processor you want to use. Here are some of the factors to consider when comparing Intel and AMD processors in terms of compatibility. Motherboards. Motherboards are an essential component for any computer build and are crucial for processor compatibility. Intel and AMD processors use different sockets, which means that motherboards designed for Intel processors will not work with AMD processors and vice versa. It's important to choose a motherboard that supports the specific processor you plan to use. Chipsets. Chipsets are also important for processor compatibility. Both Intel and AMD processors require specific chipsets to function properly, and not all chipsets are compatible with all processors. It's essential to choose a chipset that is compatible with your processor and your other hardware components. Memory. Memory compatibility is another consideration when choosing between Intel and AMD processors. Both Intel and AMD processors support different types of memory, and not all memory is compatible with all processors. It's important to choose memory that is compatible with your processor and your motherboard. Gaming. When it comes to gaming performance, Intel and AMD processors have their strengths and weaknesses. One of the key factors to consider is single-threaded performance, which refers to a processor's ability to handle single-threaded applications, such as games. Intel processors generally have better single-threaded performance than comparable AMD processors. This means that Intel processors are better suited for games that rely heavily on single-threaded performance, such as first-person shooters. On the other hand, AMD processors have better multi-threaded performance, which refers to a processor's ability to handle multi-threaded applications, such as video editing or 3D rendering. This means that AMD processors are better suited for games that utilize multi-threaded performance, such as strategy games. Overclocking is another factor to consider when comparing Intel and AMD processors for gaming. Overclocking can improve gaming performance by increasing the clock speed of the processor beyond the manufacturer's specifications. Both Intel and AMD processors support overclocking, but Intel processors are generally considered to have better overclocking potential than AMD processors. This means that Intel processors can achieve higher clock speeds and better gaming performance when overclocked. Should you buy AMD or Intel? Deciding whether to buy an AMD or Intel processor ultimately depends on your specific needs and preferences. Both AMD and Intel offer a wide range of processors that cater to different use cases, and each has its strengths and weaknesses. If you are looking for high single-core performance or the best gaming performance, Intel processors tend to perform better in these areas. However, if you are looking for better value for money, multi-threaded performance, or the ability to overclock your processor without breaking the bank, then AMD processors may be a better option. Another factor to consider is compatibility, as some AMD processors are only compatible with certain motherboards, while Intel processors have better compatibility across different motherboard brands. You should also consider other factors such as pricing, features, reliability, and power consumption when making your decision. Ultimately, the best processor for you will depend on your specific needs and preferences, as well as the specific tasks and workloads that you will be using your computer for. This was all for today. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for more updates and notifications.